I've got a hot take that I want in writing so I can come back and see if this ages nicely or not. In April, the 20th overall pick for the Broncos may not be a running back or a tight end. This is not me saying what I would do if I was the GM. I often think that people or creators and media members, that entire bucket, merge what they want and what they are hearing. And it can confuse fans a little bit. So let me make it abundantly clear. This is not what I would do if I was the Broncos GM, because I'm not, so who cares? It's what I think Sean and George Payton will do. And that is take a good look at one of the best position groups in this draft. Matt Miller from ESPN writing after day one of the Senior Bowl, this is the best defensive line group I've seen in the 15 years I've attended the Senior Bowl. The defensive line is the strength of the 2025 draft class, and it will be well represented in Mobile. Watch for a defensive tackle to be the pick for the Broncos at pick number 20. DJ Jones, this team's nose tackle, is a free agent. They could replace him in the draft with a younger, cheaper version rather than looking to re-sign an older veteran player. Mel Kiper put out his defensive tackle rankings. It's got Michigan's Mason Graham, Walter Nolen, Kenneth Grant, Derrick Harmon, and Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. It is a very, very good and deep defensive tackle class. Same goes for defensive end as well. If you want to add someone opposite of Zach Allen, although you got John Franklin Myers, I don't think that should be a priority early in this draft with the way those two guys played last year. But it's always good to reset, or not even reset, but bring reinforcements to the pass rushing position. Now, I want to get your opinion before we get any further on this, what you think Denver should do first. Pick number 20. Do you want them to take running back, tight end, or defensive tackle? Scroll on down. I'd love to see what you have to say about this. Personally, I'd go running back. But there's no guarantee that Ashton Jeanty will be there. And if he's not there, then you have to pivot, right? Ross Geller. And if Tyler Warren's not there, then pivot again. And now we're twisting the couch up the stairs to a defensive tackle. Which defensive tackle? Here are the top three guys or some of the top three guys. We'll kind of go player by player here. Just getting you guys started with this. Mason Graham, Walter Nolen, and Kenneth Grant. Graham, I do not expect to be anywhere near 20. He is going to be a top 10 draft pick in my estimation. But last year, we did learn that it is the draft and crazy things happen. And the first defender off the board last year was Leatu Latu at 15 by the Indianapolis Colts. Walter Nolen and Kenneth Grant. Let's talk about these two guys and one more player too. It's Walker from Kentucky. Starting with Nolen, though, just to give you all some background on these defensive tackle prospects, since they might be the play at 20 if Jeanty and Tyler Warren are plan A and plan B, and they're both taken by the Dolphins and the Cowboys 6-7 picks earlier. Nolen came in at the Senior Bowl weighing in 6'3", 293 pounds. So very good size. Ole Miss said he was 300 pounds, and that's a good reminder that team websites tend to exaggerate some of the sizes for players in their benefit. Now, he does not have elite athletic abilities. This is not someone who you are taking because he was they're all gifted from God in terms of their athletic ability, but some more than others. That's not Walter Nolen. Walter Nolen has incredible production. He just put up 6.5 sacks last year for the Rebels at nearly 300 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not find 300 pounds and 6.5 sacks every year in the draft. So incredible pass rush upside and also a great run stopper. He's not just a quarterback first type of interior guy. No, he can stop the run. He can take on double teams. There's a lot to like about Nolen's game. Walker, very different prospect. 6'7", 340 pounds. You really think that's a huge human being? 6'7", 340. Again, these guys don't come around very often. These guys never come around. 6'7", 340 pounds. So what's the catch? He had 7.5 sacks in 2023, 1.5 in 2024. Where do those 6 sacks go? That's going to be a question that teams try and answer or become comfortable with where they went and take him for he's 6'7", 340, and you're probably thinking the next thing out of my mouth is he's a tree stump that can eat up blockers. He's big, but he's more than a tree stump. He's got good mobility. The guy can move. I'm not going to say he's the fastest defensive tackle out there, but for 340, 6'7", he moves a lot quicker than you think. This is just like a makeup of a defensive tackle that's not in every year's draft class. Last year, there were, I think, don't quote me, 2 guys 300 plus pounds at the defensive tackle spot. This year, there are so many, they're all over the board. He's quick, he's strong. The concern for him is the pad level. When you're 6'7", and if we remember from our early days of Pee Wee football, low man wins. He tends to stand upright, and then a 6'5" offensive tackle doesn't have that much of an issue with him. So that's the skinny on Nolen and Walker. Kenneth Grant. He's definitely going to be in the mix for the 20th overall pick. I think he'll go right around there. He's 6'3". He's also massive like Walker. Not as tall, but 342 pounds. He takes on double teams super well, and he does a great job of shedding blockers and getting into the backfield. The con with Grant is if you put on the tape, the inconsistency. One quarter great, one quarter bad. One game awesome, one game disappearing. Where is he for all 3 plays? He's probably not someone who can go on first, second, and third down. And if you're picking in round 1, you may want someone who can play more downs. I'm not talking 100%, but that's kind of the downside. Plus, Grant does not have a great pass rush arsenal to his game. But don't get me wrong, at 6'3", 342 pounds, he still makes a lot of great plays, and he's got good athleticism and good mobility for that size, and he's going to free up linebackers by taking on double teams and allowing guys to do their job. Before we look at the rest of today's episode, quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stat projections. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That $5 lineup, just take the more on Patrick Mahomes' passing yards at 0.5 for the big game. Pair it with one more, and you're good to go. Once more, download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Moving on to some other players from the Senior Bowl to keep an eye on. Let's run through a couple of guys that jumped out to me. We've got the Virginia Tech defensive tackle who was, I wouldn't say the star of the show for the first day of the Senior Bowl, which, by the way, was on Tuesday, January 28th. That's the first practice. And we're also filming this during our live show on Tuesday, January 28th. But he was just shedding offensive linemen left and right. So if the Broncos don't go defensive tackle in round 1, he's a name to watch for later in day 2, maybe early day 3 of the draft. So that's one name to keep an eye on. Another one is the UCF running back R.J. Harvey. I wanted to talk about Cam Scatterbo here because something I'm going to do a deeper dive on in the next couple of days is Sean Payton's next Joker. It's not R.J. Harvey. The Joker is someone who can run, catch, pass, just a little bit of everything, some special teams. Harvey does have a really good receiving ability to his game, though. And we saw how Sean Payton tried to make his running backs into a receiving threat. Javonte Williams, don't quote me, he finished second, I think, on the team in receptions. Like, he had to have. I'm thinking right now. It would have gone Sutton, Williams, and then I don't want to know who's third. Like, Mims, maybe? No, he didn't. Maybe. Anywho, Devon Vele. Aside from that, Harvey, though, if you're looking for a receiving back, which Payton could be, he might be your man. Mason Taylor, another tight end in this draft class that's very deep. 6'5", 255 pounds, so good size, but I'd say good route running. I think people were surprised to see how quickly he moved, and this is another option of if you miss out on Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland, you can wait until round 3 of the draft, and Taylor might be your answer for your tight end problems. Speaking of tight ends, another one to watch for is the tight end out of Miami. He was really moving up and down the field. This was someone who was able to get into the second level. It's a padded practice, but there's no wrapping up. There's no, hardcore defense or anything like that. So you're not going to come away with a great idea of how these guys will perform in game action. But when he's running past DBs who are running their tails off, and he's 6'4", pushing 250, you've got a good idea as to the wheels he has on him. One more player I just want to put on your radar. This would be my, hey, PD, who's a very surprise pick that you could see Denver making? Shamir Stewart. He's a physical specimen. 6'6", 285, 290. He does not have the production. 1.5 sacks in 3 straight years for the Aggies. But what he does have is a very unique set of athletic traits for the size, the speed, and the bendiness. Every year we're told that this guy's a freak of nature. I'm not going to say he's like the greatest athlete we've seen. That probably goes for that size and speed, like to Myles Garrett. I mean, everyone just knew that he was going to be Superman, and he's lived up to the billing. But Stewart, another Aggie, is someone that teams will fall in love with, despite the production concerns, which for me is a major red flag, because 6'6", 285, and he runs like a wide receiver, does not come around every year. So don't be surprised if a defensive coordinator is banging on the table going, if I can get my hands on this, I can mold an absolute game wrecker of a player for us. Personally, for me, if you can't get sacks in college, I don't believe you can wake up and get sacks in the NFL. That's not true for other positions. If you can't get 1,000 receiving yards in college, you can wake up in the NFL and do that. Like I could see that being a result of poor quarterback play, not a very good head coach in college, not a good offensive line. There are a magnitude of reasons as to why maybe a receiver doesn't get a ton of production in college but has success in the NFL. For me, edge rushers, it's mano-a-mano. It is one-on-one. And I don't foresee you figuring out how to beat tackles in the NFL that you couldn't beat in college just because you're a great athlete. Newsflash, everyone is. Before we sign off, I thought you might like this question to wrap up the show. Give me your favorite trivia question. This may not yield a ton of results, but I love trivia. I'm in a trivia league. It's starting back up next week. And I can't say my team name because that's definitely going to get flagged on YouTube. So you can just picture it in your head a little bit. But give me your favorite trivia question down below in the comment section. That will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate everyone who tunes in and watches all the way to the end. If you're still watching, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Really appreciate it as always. And I'll see everyone later.